From the beloved author of Tuesdays with Morrie and the 5 People You Meet in Heaven, Mitch Albom is back with a new novel that explores love, second chances, and choices.
His latest book, Twice, gives readers a heartfelt look at how our desires, regrets, and redemption shape who we become. For more on the new book, we're joined by Mitch Albom. Good morning to you. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Abby. Hi, Dan. How are you?
Great. Thank you. We're excited to talk about your new book. We gave a little bit of a preview, but in your own words, tell us a little bit about it.
So it's a story about a guy named Alfie who discovers when he's a little kid that he has the magical ability to do everything in his life twice. He can go back and change things, but he has to live with the consequences of his second try. He can't pick the first one if it was better. And he kind of goes through his younger years and teenage years, fixing the basketball shot that he missed or the embarrassment with a teenage girl or something like that. And then he discovers when he's a man that there's one caveat to this power. It doesn't work with love. In fact, it's the opposite with love. If you walk out on a love, if you turn your back and try somebody else, then that person can never love you again. And at some point when he thinks he's found the perfect person, he gets tempted and he has to make a very fateful decision.
Mitch, where do you come up with these ideas? What is the inspiration that you draw upon to get so creative when you write?
Well, I always try to come up with a theme before I come up with a plot, which is a little different than a lot of writers. So, like the 5 People You Meet in Heaven, I wanted to write a story about people who feel that they don't matter. And I created a story in Heaven that shows that they do. Or The Stranger in the Lifeboat, I wanted to write about people who don't believe. And in this case, I wanted to write about the grass is always greener concept because, a lot of people live with regrets saying, oh, I should have married this person, or I should have taken that job, or I should have moved to a different country. And we all have that in our head, but we don't get a chance to look at, well, what would happen actually if I did get to do things over again and fix my mistakes. And the fact is, we might not learn anything in our life if we got to fix all of our mistakes. So I always look for common themes that I know everybody's thinking about and then try to create a story around it. And as you can see by this video that you're running, there's a little examples of things that you get to do over again, or the character does.
It sounds incredible. Tell us a little bit about the writing process for this book. When did you start it, and when did you finally decide, yes, it's done, it's ready?
Well, I always have these ideas kind of on the shelf, and I just sort of decide, well, do I feel like doing that story? My wife and I have been together for 37 years, and I wanted to do something at this stage in my life that sort of showed my appreciation for her. And so the character in the book, the woman that he falls in love with is very much like my wife. And he gets tempted and makes a mistake and whatever, but ultimately realizes what he has. And that's, I feel that way too. And so I thought, yeah, it's time to write this book. And I read my books to my wife. She doesn't read them. I read them out loud to her. So she doesn't know what they're about until I read them. And I read her this one, and we got to the last page, and it does have an inspirational sort of happy ending. She gave me a big hug and kiss, so I knew I had done okay.
When you write these, Mitch, do you find it changes maybe some of the perspective you have on your own life? Just talking about the grass is always greener, because that's something that I know I think about a lot. The grass is always greener, but as soon as you stand on that lawn, guess what? The opposite side looks even brighter than it did the day before.
Yeah.
Is that something that you take away that changes you?
Well, I think you can't write something that you don't know at all. And my life has kind of been a twice example. For the first part of my life until my late 30s, I was a sports writer. And I just a very, very ambitious sports writer, and that you could have summed me up with that sentence. And then I had this experience with an old professor of mine that became the book Tuesdays with Morrie, and suddenly that book took off, and suddenly I became a person, instead of people going to ask about who won the Super Bowl, they would come to me and say, my mother died of cancer, and can I talk to you about it, because we read Tuesdays with Morrie together. And so my eyes were open to a whole sort of different world, and I started getting involved in charities, and then I started charities in Detroit, and then I started started an orphanage in Haiti, and now my life is mostly about that. So I've seen how our lives can turn based on decisions or things that happen. And so I used that to try to show in the book that we all actually do get a second chance in life. It's called the next minute that we live. And all of the minutes that we've lived up to this minute that we're talking, have informed us and taught us about what decisions to make going forward. So if all we did was keep jumping backwards, we probably wouldn't learn anything. And I know if I went backwards, I'd be a much different person.
Wow, very inspirational and beautifully said. Mitch, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really, really appreciate it. I guess one last question before we run out of time here. You know, what's your message to young people who may pick up this book, who are interested in reading, but maybe not getting that push at home, maybe not finding somebody to encourage them to read and pick up a book?
Well, when you read, you disappear into a different world. And, you know, kids are already doing that on their phones. It's just that they're kind of disappearing into this world. So I would encourage them to say, hey, dive into a book, whether you read it on your phone or read it in, you know, physical form or whatever, and explore that world. And you'll find that when you see a different world, it gives you a good perspective on your own. It takes you someplace that you can't get by sending a tweet. And you know, there's a reason we've been telling stories since the dawn of time. It's how we learn things through storytelling. And whether it's on a phone or in a physical copy of a book, I think there's a lot to be learned from it. I encourage kids to try it.
Mitch Albom, thank you so much for your time. We greatly appreciate it, sir.
Dan, Abby, very nice to talk to you. Thanks.